Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to this month's Cooperation Africa webinar. The title of today's session is Structuring Youth Employment Through Worker Cooperatives and Trained Talents. Those of you who are familiar will know that this event is part of our education and training program that we use to raise awareness about cooperatives across Africa. My name is Amina Mama, and I'm a founding member of Cooperation Africa's Executive Council. It's my absolute pleasure to moderate today's session. Before we hear from today's speaker, let me just say a few words about Cooperation Africa and what we're all about. In terms of our mission and strategy, we're a membership organization that's registered in and operates out of Ghana, and we have members from across Africa and beyond. Cooperation Africa exists to encourage and support the development of the cooperative economy on the African continent. The reason we promote cooperatives is because these are businesses that are owned and democratically managed by their members, so helping their members to achieve much more together than they could achieve alone as just individual business people. There are many kinds of cooperatives that already exist all over the continent. For example, we have producer cooperatives. These can help members, many of them are farmers, to buy their inputs together and therefore benefit from lower prices by buying together in bulk. Then we also have many marketing cooperatives, which are those that pool and sell their products together. And this enables them to cope with price drops by commanding higher prices. We also have consumer cooperatives that are formed when people club together to make credit unions or savings and cooperative credit organizations or SACCOs. And these ones help members to save and borrow. So people who can't get loans are often in members of group savings associations. Retail cooperatives are those that see people club together to buy quality food, groceries, and other things at lower prices. And we even have housing co-ops that enable their members to act as a group together to gain access to quality, affordable housing. Now, today's example is different from these. It's a worker cooperative. And these are a bit special because these are businesses that are entirely owned by their members exclusively and can be in any sector of the economy. Members of worker cooperatives work for themselves rather than working for someone else, and they share the profits made among themselves or reinvest them in their own business instead of having to use profits to pay back to external investors who hold shares in perpetuity. There is clear evidence that cooperative formation allows communities to achieve higher and more secure standards of living for themselves, both of which we all know are direly needed in the African context. The research evidence provides an empirical basis for understanding that African countries with strong and dynamic cooperative sectors will be more equitable, more democratic, and more self-reliant societies. In terms of our current activities and work, Cooperation Africa's work falls under three main headings. The first is the area of research and advocacy. We are carrying out investigations into the conditions of cooperatives in African countries and then using that to engage in advocacy to enhance and improve those conditions. So that last year, for example, we commissioned a research that mapped the strengths and challenges of the cooperative sector in Ghana, looking at hindering and enabling factors. In fact, this research was successfully completed and launched just last week. And the reports and recordings of that launch can be found on our website at cooperationafrica.org or on YouTube. For this year, we're doing the same in Zambia, where the research is just beginning, underway in a partnership with a Southern African Institute for Policy Research, popularly known as SEPA. The second area of work is education and training, like the present webinar, for example. And we produce a monthly news bulletin called Mapigo, which means the pulse. This is a digest of news about African cooperatives. You can subscribe to this for free to stay informed, and I recommend you doing so. We also organize conferences on critical issues affecting cooperatives in Africa. And as part of our work, a separate project under education and training. We're setting up a matchmaking capacity building scheme that will pair cooperatives up with resource people who can help them improve their operations and develop. Lastly, under the heading of cooperative financing, we aim to provide loans to help people start or grow their own cooperatives. We welcome members, all those who are willing to actively help to bring about a more cooperative and self-reliant Africa. So please see the membership section on our website and sign up and join us, become a member. As for you, the audience, welcome aboard. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat section. And remember to place your questions there or in the question and answers section provided so that when we come to the discussion, this can be shaped after our speaker has made his presentation. The session will just last for an hour, perhaps an hour and a quarter, and our speaker will speak for about 35 minutes. After that, we'll have a short time for discussion. We have interpretation, so please see the interpretation link if you're a French speaker in particular to access the translation. And please be advised that the session is being recorded. Now let me introduce this week's speaker. Welcome, John Njuguna Maina. John is a cooperator by profession and passion, and a trainer of trainers and a creative leader. He's currently the founding chairman of Chipukizi VOD Worker Cooperative, which focuses on educative entertainment. He's also the founding chairman of Alphaprime Worker Cooperative, which provides professional cleaning and relocation services, and they're both based in Nairobi, Kenya. He tells us that he's deeply passionate about mobilizing and organizing young people around their talents and skills to serve the greater purpose. Through his experience, he's observed that young people have great ideas and energy, but they often lack access to capital and to supportive structures to enable these ideas to be turned into viable businesses. He argues that the worker cooperative model offers a practical and empowering solution to this gap. And he's going to share some insights from his 6-year journey with worker cooperatives, including the insights, challenges, and lessons learned, so that he can inspire us and inform others across Africa and beyond. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, John, and invite you to share your remarks for about 35 minutes. And I will give you a little nudge 5 minutes before the end of that time. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amina. And I hope I'm audible from where you sit. And just to confirm, am I audible? Just confirm before I...
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the brief about the Cooperation Africa. And I'm so impressed. In fact, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to come and share our insight, our experience with these great minds. Because when I listened to the introduction about Cooperation Africa and what you're doing, I am really amazed. And this is good work. In fact, I would want to remain engaged with whatever you're doing after this talk, that I'll visit the website and also subscribe to membership and also work together, because when people work together, and that is the spirit of cooperatives, they're able to go far and far now. Thank you very much. I want to utilize my 30 minutes fully, and in case there will be questions or concern, I would appreciate a lot. So allow me share the screen. All right. All right. I hope you can see it now. I am here. I'm here on behalf of Chipukizi, Voice of Drama, and of course, Alphaprime. And just before I start, Chipukizi has been existing for now about 6 years, but Alphaprime is still in the initial stage. In fact, we should get our certificate in this month. We started our registration last year. Therefore, we are hoping that we get the certificate soonest, and we are able to champion the two organizations. Therefore, as I speak, majorly I use my information and my background from Chipukizi, where we've existed for the last 6 years. And once again, Thank you for the opportunity. Therefore, I'll go with the slides. And of course, like you mentioned, Amina, that the title is A Youth-Led Worker Cooperative Transforming Lives Through Art. And I'm the presenter. I'm John Jugunda, the founder and the chairman of Chipukizi Voice of Drama, which is a theater group that practices entertainment that is educative and also champions the cooperative spirit across the country. I'm a passionate youth leader for the youth empowerment and also creative development. So just to highlight on the origin of Chipukizi, let me just put there, to highlight on the background and the origin of Chipukizi. Chipukizi comes from the Kiswahili word upcoming or sprouting. And that is what we thought when we were starting. We were new artists, young artists, and we are coming up with an idea that was not in existence. In fact, we are the first one in Kenya as an entertainment cooperative. Of course, we have other models of cooperatives, like I heard you mention, Amina, but for the entertainment, we are number one. So back in 2019, we started as university students, the Cooperative University of Kenya. It started as a club. It was called Winners Talent Drama Club. Then later we realized that we will complete our education and our studies in the university. So what next? And that is when we thought we can register as a worker cooperative. And we struggled in the initial stage because especially our state department cooperatives, they did have it on the information about how worker cooperatives operate. Therefore, we went for the register, and that is why you see it students and alumni of Cooperative University. Our primary focus is education through entertainment and, of course, branding and promotional services to corporate. Our mission, vision, and core objectives are as shown. We have a mission to inform, entertain, and promote values through youth empowerment in creative arts. Our vision is to be Kenya's leading. In fact, we need to be Africa's leading youth-powered entertainment and brand promotion cooperative. Our objectives, because everything that you start, you need to know what you want or what are you aiming at, is to discover and nurture young talents, offer professional, value-driven performances, and of course, create earning platforms through art and building sustainable youth employment. Now, like I was saying, in the initial stage, we started as just passionate actors within the university. But we realized we want to go beyond what we were doing. We want to add something from whatever we were doing. And that is how we decided now to go out of the university walls and register this as an organization. Therefore, we are in business. Whatever we do, a cooperative is a business. And I did mention that my undergraduate is bachelor's in cooperatives and community development. That is what I did. And I'm currently finishing my master's in cooperative management. Therefore, I'm a cooperator by profession and also artist by passion. Therefore, we went forth and we started now reaching out. Now that we have registered a business, we started reaching out to the university events, church gigs, corporate events, workshops, and their parties, and we said what we are doing. By that time, 2019, we were active. And remember, by then I had just completed my undergraduate. So we were able to mobilize the students around. I was not employed. That is, I was doing that full time. So we grew our membership very fast to 50 active members. Remember, different from a circle that capitalizes on numbers. The more the numbers, the more the savings, the more the borrowing, and therefore it grows. Different from that, a worker cooperative, the members are the workers and they're the owners. So many a times we don't want so many people because the more you are, again, you share the margin, the profit margin that you share is minimal. So we went up to 50, and that was a big number. By then, I was young, also in leadership, and we could try to maintain the people. And just then, when we were just continuing and when we were just acting, when we had just started penetrating the market, and by that time we were almost at the top, and COVID came in. And 2020, we all know the story of COVID-19. So COVID-19 came and affected us in two ways. One, all gatherings in Kenya and also other parts of the world, they were suspended, but they were halted. Therefore, our events, our services were for gatherings, social gatherings, during events, during church gatherings. So, in short, the platform to offer our business was halted. Then, number two, university closed, just like any other university, because students were not doing anything around. So, our membership went home because our students, in fact, that time 100%, no, not 100, 98% were students. So, they all went home. So, membership got scattered. And now, before we would recollect ourselves again, it took a while. And that is where we opted to be hiring artists on need basis. Because the members we had, when they went, we went to online studies. So there are people who went up country, but went home and never came back. So we were not able to bring them back physically. And we were left with very few people, and even others lost hope with our cooperative. But of course, a leader will not give up when others are doing that. So we maintained that we'll need to hire services. And when I say services, they are the art, the creative art, the art itself from the artist, and mostly the students, because it is affordable, number one, and it's available, readily available. Only that sometimes it is not reliable. Available, but not reliable. So we maintain this service delivery by adapting to smaller and flexible teams, and we continued. Now, when it comes to creative outputs and financial development, having that background, of course, we had defined what we wanted to do. But by then, we were jack of all, master of none. So we could do so much that we were not able to master on anything. So we defined our services or our services. We majored on theatre plays, where we would organize plays within the university and charge tickets, 150 shillings to students, and stage plays in evenings, Friday evenings, and we collect the money and then we divide amongst ourselves. We do skits and branded narratives for the event specifically, live music and spoken words during the National Ushirika Council. Ushirika is the cooperative's day. We would do that, and also other events, especially the weddings. So all these we had defined and we had, in fact, settled on them. And up to date, of course, we have not changed. Then we were able to even reach an international audience. COVID, beside scattering our membership, we were able to get an opportunity to perform to an international audience through the International Cooperative Alliance. You all know ICA. We got an opportunity because their offices are here in Nairobi, Kenya, and we were able to send some pieces. And also German, it was called German something Cooperative Celebration Day. And we also sent contents, and they would send us money. So we were almost getting there. Now, with these outputs or with these creative products, we were able to get it. However, remember I said I was young in leadership and we were also students, and sometimes the life of comrade, we call them comrades, sometimes it is hand to mouth. We don't really care or bother about tomorrow. So the early challenges that we met, especially financially, is that whatever we would get, we would spend fully, we would spend without saving. We ensure that there's nothing left. And then we did have an office, but because we were within the university, we would operate easily because the university would not charge us. We were students there, so we'd use the hall for rehearsals for free. We offer services there. We could not imagine that we needed some extra saving for future cost. So we continued up to 2023. Remember, that was before COVID. Now, after COVID, 2020 was quiet. 2021, we started picking up. We were sending some video clips, which was not regular or frequent. Therefore, we could not maintain whatever we were doing. So we would have other things, other activities for income, but ensure that this was a side hustle. So we continued that way until 2024, 2023 towards December, and we realized that we are losing on something that was good. So the membership that we had, the initial group of people who believed in whatever we were doing, had left. So we were left only some board members, about 5 of them, who are still around to date. So we decided we need to refresh and we think, how are we going to move forward with this business model? And then we sat down and decided we need to revive whatever we lost and see if we can stand back, we can bounce back to whatever we were doing. And that is when we decided to engage the university to get some room or like an office where we can be operating from. By this time, luckily we had the Global Communities Clear program. They were here specifically to support the establishment of starter worker cooperatives. And they came in handy. All along, they were there from 2019, but after COVID, they were silent. Then they picked up. And they would support, especially in capacity building. So we would go, we get motivated, training us on good governance, and we continued. Then just towards the closure of the 2019-2024 program, we decided to support the worker cooperatives that are in Kenya with some assets. So they would give few assets that were you need as a cooperative. So we got some desktop and some cameras. By that time, we had settled at 2023. So 2024, we were able to settle down for that. And now our office is there established. So today, as we speak, of course, we would want to blame the many years lost, but from where I sit, it is so much understandable. So we have our books set up. We use user-friendly accounting softwares and some books just to ensure that whatever we want to do, we have our systems right and okay. In terms of governance structure, like I mentioned, we have a board of 5 members. So we have the chairman, who is me. Then we have the vice chair, which is called Zipporah. I invited them to join the webinar. I hope 1 or 2 are here. Then we have the secretary, who is called Darrington Nekido. And then we have treasurer Vincent Ogoji. Then we have theater manager, who is called Jessica Brown Itonga. So all these people, in fact, they are the remnants of the initial group. I would say the founding group, because when we were starting, we were about 20, then we grew to 50, then all of a sudden people dropped and we remained with about 6 or 7. So these 5 board members plus 2 more are the people who remained behind. However, all these people, because they were doing their studies, majority, in fact, all of them are engaged elsewhere because they needed a way to survive. And because we were not frequent in our business, so they get engaged, but they are here to offer advisory and support where needed. Now, when we need any decisions, we make them as a board. So at the moment, we use university attaches and interns. So they support a lot in administration work. So you see them around the office in terms of marketing, in terms of branding. So they are really resourceful when it comes to the day-to-day administration work. However, when we have major decisions, we invite all the people who have interest, who are interested with whatever we do. We bring them on board just to ensure that they are part and parcel. Okay, so that is where we start at. Now, what is our strategic focus? What are our areas of interest? What are we looking at now that we're here, 2025? So the other day, we attended a training for creative arts. There are programs that really support creative arts. Now that even our government is really interested with creative economy. So we went through a training and they were helping us to package our services, to focus. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that we were all over. We were jack of all, but master of none. So we're not able to focus on what we wanted specifically. We were all over. Today, as we speak, we are able to now strategize and know that we want to focus on the 2-3 areas. And we have 3. One is we want to engage or partner with corporates out here. When I say corporates, majorly is the SACCOs and the banks sector, the institutions, learning institutions, and even religious institutions. We want to engage, promote whatever branding they want, marketing, and we have packaged ourselves towards that. That we want to help you to create awareness. Like now, we are aiming at, for example, an insurance company. We want to help the public or create an awareness to the public, like you're doing as corporation, just awareness for cooperatives. But now we help public understand why they need insurance, for example. What is the role of insurance? How can you be engaged? Because sometimes the public lack knowledge. The architect or the knowledge, the technology of ensuring the public understands is what we want to measure on. So that is number one. We also want those corporates to engage us during their annual events. So if they have a name, for example, Together as One. So we do skits or drama, short plays, or other creative pieces that will help them understand that this is the name Together as One. What is the motto of our organization? So that is area number one that we are focusing on moving forward. Number two is theater performances, that I have already mentioned. Educational and community-driven shows. I have mentioned that we organize shows, these theater shows. We get a hall, we practice, and we charge people tickets. People come in and they pay tickets and they enjoy it. Right on evening of enjoying. We have events that we have been invited by organizations to come and perform. And then we pay. Remember, we have now actors who we hire on need base because we are not able to maintain, but also we invite people to come and sell on commission basis. Then the third area is the live music and creative events. So this is different from the theater. Here we want to measure on live music. There are people who would be interested with theater only. Others would be interested with music. For example, when we go to restaurants, when we go to mostly restaurants and lodges, people enjoy live music there. So when we have our instruments ready and we play cool music and people sing, so we get to sell what we are doing. So all these are the things, the three of them, we want to focus on as a strategic area. What are the key challenges that we identified from the word go? And we have learned, because we always say failing is not bad. Because if you don't do any lessons from that, then failing is irrelevant or unnecessary to you. But any failure or any mistake, when you realize it turns to be a lesson. And then moving forward, you're able to improve on that. One, we realized why we lost our membership a lot is because we didn't have a consistent income stream. Remember, we had so many services. If you list them down, they were almost over 10, but we were not able to maintain it. Reason I don't understand whether we were not so committed or we lacked, we didn't have focus. So when you are all over, you are nowhere. So sometimes it's good to restrict yourself to areas that are manageable so that you're able to focus. So that is mistake number one. And that's why we have narrowed down to 3 areas that you're able to focus on fully. Number two, members due to COVID, and you are not able to bring them back because they didn't get the value to come back. Some, of course, they were limited due to factors that are beyond us, but there are some whom we could bring back. The other thing, therefore, now moving forward, we are able to maintain our engagement with the people that we hire or the people that we engage during events. The operational policies in early years. We didn't know that we needed to save something. We were just saying with our words of mouth, but not documented. We would say, like, now, whatever we do, 20% remains with cooperative. 80% is paid to actors or administration cost. So that was with word of mouth, but was not documented. We did not define our leadership structure well. We did not define our marketing structure well. So all these things, we didn't have knowledge. Therefore, we had not documented. We didn't know that organizations, we engage them business to business, they are contract, they are written documents. And sometimes we prepare for a piece and we miss it out. A day two, somebody just calls it off or cancels, and we could do nothing. Yet we have invested a lot of time in that. So today we know operational policies are very important, and we have them written in the office. Then finally, limited capital for big production. We missed on many opportunities. And remember, we were called for an up-country event just before COVID 2020, and we had charged around 200,000. But they needed us to go so that they pay us. At that time, we didn't have money. Yet they needed us to pay to facilitate ourselves to get money. The other day, in 2019, we were engaged by GIZ. GIZ, and they sent us also up country. The event was also around, I think, 170,000. At that time, they expected us to facilitate as an organization. Facilitate your actors, go perform, then they will write a check later, which was so difficult for us because we didn't have a capital in the beginning. Even today, we are working on that because all these the startups will always struggle with capital because that's something that we need. So the lessons we learned is that it is important to have a sustainable income generating operation. However we do it, we ensure that we have a roaring, a continuous income generation. Then, of course, policies and structures are key to growth because unless you want to close tomorrow, then you need to have a policy that is set and established. Then ownerships come from member contribution. All along, we did have members contributing. You know, they are students, like I mentioned. So students are looking to a way of survival. Then you ask them. I remember we mentioned that we want to be contributing 200 shillings each, but at that time, people would not have money because they are students. And that's why I said we are eating, including the seed. You would not spare them. So asking them for 200 as a commitment was a challenge. But later we realized it was important because people who want to commit to an organization to grow, they'll sacrifice a bit. Because in the beginning, initial stage, you have to commit. You have to sacrifice. If you don't do that, then you lose as a team. Then finally, flexibility and innovation are critical in times of crisis. That we needed to be flexible. Like now, during COVID-19, there was a reason for us to know that people are shifting to virtual. People are going digital. So what are we doing also? Like now, the two businesses that we are able to get overseas to date would still be offering the service. Maybe now at this age, we'll be doing physically. So looking ahead, we want to scale up our operations across the counties within the country. We want to go beyond the capital city, Nairobi County. Of course, build long-term partnerships with circles and corporates. We want to approach the business through a partnership approach. Beside offering business, can we partner because we need each other? Cooperative. In fact, the 7 principles of cooperatives is concern for the community and cooperation amongst cooperatives. So if you don't cooperate, then why it will become difficult. It becomes difficult for us to exist because we fighting in a market that is very competitive. People who supply, like now we supply public address. People have bigger instruments. They set up big stages. Yet we want to venture into that market. There are people with theater groups that are established. So we are competing against them. So maintaining that, we need cooperation amongst cooperatives. Let's setting up a physical art hub, cooperative studio. We want to move beyond the office that we have within the university. So what else can we establish outside there? Of course, institutionalizing youth mentorship and internship programs. And we want to partner with the Ministry of Education in our country, and that we have initiated. We have the letter, and they advised how we follow the procedure to follow, so that we are fully pledged or fully approved for this mentorship. We partner with other institutions to do that. So my closing note is that cooperative model offers real solutions for youth employment. What I say is, for you realize many youths, and that is my argument, many youths have the talent. They have a skill, for example, an expertise, but now they lack in capital. They lack the bargaining power. They lack the ability to sell out. But when people come together, when 2 come together or 3, they're able to cover a large scale. That's why in cooperatives, the synergies 1 + 1 = 3, not even 2, because that is a formula that has been justified. Of course, art can be dignified. You don't need to just sell art anyhow, half naked. We sell decent. That's why we aim at corporate, because our entertainment or our products are decent and structured to ensure that there is no shame. Finally, Chipukizi's approve of all this, that creativity plus cooperation, it leads to transformation, both for the client and also to us as individuals. Our contacts are there. email, by telephone. Some of the links, of course, we'll share with us in the YouTube and in the Facebook. You'll find us there. And in fact, today as we speak, we are just finalizing our website. And before the end of the week, it should be ready. You're able to visit our website and see what we have been doing, just to prove that indeed we are working hard to ensure that we are empowered as a team. I want to finish there, Amina, and invite any questions or concerns that we have. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very, very much. That's a really compelling story, and clearly quite a resilient and successful initiative involving youth. I really love the way you introduce yourself as a cooperator by profession and an artist by passion. But let me turn it over to those who've joined us to invite any questions. There's one in the chat already. Those others of you who have questions, please put them in the chat so we can pick those up. But we have a question here from our co-chair. And incidentally, before I go to that, let me just mention that we're also affiliated to the ICA like you, and that someone from the Cooperative University of Kenya, Ms. Esther Gicheru, is our co-chair. So we have a number of connections with you. But we have already two questions in the chat. The first one is from Adote Bing Papo, our co-chair here in Ghana, who asks, how do you manage to combine chairing two cooperatives? Is there overlap among the members?
All right. That's a good one, Dottie, and I appreciate. The two cooperatives are different. They offer different services. Their way of operation is also different. In fact, we have two board for each. Remember, in cooperative, you cannot be in two cooperatives that are selling the same thing, or they are doing the same. Like now, you cannot be a leader for two circles because of conflict of interest. But for this case, because the services are different, it is easy. Now, from my profession as a cooperator, and two, from the passion that we have, incidentally, both are youth-owned and youth-led cooperatives. For the Alphaprime, I started by promoting. It was not the intention to be a chair. But now with time, we realized that I was more knowledgeable than the people whom we would propose for leadership. So it is not difficult. It's not difficult because how this one operates and this one, they are unique. Only that I would the same knowledge to apply to both. But of course, it's a commitment that you.
Thank you. Adute will get back to us if he wishes to follow up. But in the meantime, we have a question from Andrew Nyati in Zimbabwe, another keen cooperator and member of Cooperation Africa. And Andrew wants to know what relationship you have with the Kenya Cooperative Bank, if any. Hello? I'm not sure if you got that question.
Sorry.
Did you hear that question? What relationship do you have with the Kenya Cooperative Bank, if any?
I don't have a relationship as an individual, but there are two links. One, all cooperatives, I encourage to have a bank account with Cooperative Bank because that is the mutual relationship. So all our accounts we have opened with the Cooperative Bank. Then secondly, we have a personal relationship of friendship with the Coop Holdings CEO. It's called Frederick Ndegwa. Coop Holding CEO, not the Cooperative Bank itself. So I don't have a personal relationship with the Cooperative Bank.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? Please type it in the chat. We still have a few minutes to go. While we're waiting for other questions, let me just ask you a very typical question coming from me. What's the gender composition of your co-op, and how do you organize the distribution of work? Because you have artists and then you have a board. So I'm wondering if members of the board are also performers, for example, to engage in the work of the cooperative, or how do you balance fairness among the tasks since everything is shared in terms of the profits?
That's a good one. That's a good one. First of all, like I mentioned, being a youth-led cooperative, it means all of us are almost the same. We are age mates, we are cohorts. So all board members are performers, they are actors, they participate in the business. Our constitution is 60% versus 40. 60 are ladies and 40 are men. Reason being, ladies are good with stage, they are good with acting, they are good with facial expression. So they are good as performers. Of course, you have very good men in performing, but also ladies are also very good. In both, it's a coincidence that we find that you have the other way around, that 60-40%. Like now, if you have 5, coincidentally, you find 3 are men, 2 are female, because it's just by nature, not by any design. But both members are performers, and in total, the membership constitutes 60% females, 40% men, 100% youth. Myself, I'm the number 1 actor. I have performed from the word go. In fact, I returned the other day now because I have many, many duties. But if today even an opportunity rises to act or to perform, I'll still do that.
Okay. And can we find some of your performances on the YouTube channel that you referred us to?
Yes, it's got Chipukizi. Let me just post the link here so we continue.
Yeah, if we post it in the chat, then people can download it and access it easily.
Yeah.
Thank you.
An introduction image as we wait for maybe 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. Any other questions from people? Take the opportunity to ask John any questions you have. But this sounds like a very successful example of a worker co-op.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, indeed, from other people who are present? Yeah, okay. So we have 2 more questions here coming into the link. What kind of audiences do you get for your performances in terms of size, gender, and age? When you're ready.
Okay.
Thank you
What
for
kind
posting that link. Yeah, the question, what kind of audiences do you have for your performances in terms of size, gender, and age distribution?
All right. Majorly, we find or we realize that the audience constitutes of young people, the Gen Zs in Kenya today. The Gen Zs are the majority, especially when we organize our shows. But when we go to corporate events, of course, the audience are mature people, meaning adults, older adults, because those are the people who are in the workspace. We have not really performed or offered our service to the locals, not to the rural. Majorly, we are in urban areas. We are in Nairobi and its environments. We have not advanced to the rural because even the content, the language is English, is Swahili, and we find the locals would want a different language, would want maybe a customized language. But for us, because the group is mixed up, we offer our services in urban areas.
Okay, thank you. You've gone to the next question, which was about that. I mean, you did say that you were planning to, you're based in Nairobi, but planning to expand beyond.
Yeah.
So that partly responded to that question about the rural areas. And you could let us know if you have plans to take on some of those additional languages as you grow and expand, which I'm sure you will do, judging by your success so far. But there's a question also from Kingsley of Nkansa, who asks, what challenges do you have regarding the sharing of roles and benefits, which in fact echoes the question I asked earlier. So we're keen to know what challenges you have regarding the sharing of roles and benefits.
That's a good one. I think major challenge that you would face is you realize all members are not cooperators. So sometimes they will not understand the concept of cooperative. And that is what we suffered even initially. People think that this is just a company. So as a company, this is how we operate. People would want to think the chairman is bigger, the chairman is the boss. Yet it's one man, one vote. So we are all equal. It's only that the board is there to facilitate the day-to-day the running of the organization. So chairman is not any big than the member, because during the AGM, people should vote, and I will be the chair today, and tomorrow we have a different chair. So that is number one. Number two, of course, the roles sometimes it's just a notion, which is not true, and that men are better in management, ladies are good in acting on the stage. Yet sometimes it's the other way. You find men who do better in performance or in the stage, and ladies would manage very well. We had the initial secretary was doing very good work as compared to the current man who is a secretary, and he knows because he says he's poor in record keeping and minutes and everything. But that lady was doing perfectly. So sometimes it's different, and that's a challenge because when members vote, of course, that is it, because the members are the final at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. It sounds very much as if you're a learning organization that's
Yeah.
learning. So I wondered if you actually organize internal training for your members.
Yes, that is something we in fact we have started now. I would say now, because the first training that we'll do is next week, incidentally, mostly for the interns that we have. Like now we have 6 of them in the office. So we want to train them that this is our belief, this is what we are headed, this is our strategic focus. So we'll start with them, then members will come later. Because for members, majorly is the art, the skill itself. That is where we train, of course, highlighting on how a cooperative operates. But for the interns who are in the office, we want them to understand that this is what we are doing, and we start the next week, which we have not done before, to be honest.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
we also have a participant who's wondering whether when you do your performances, I know you mentioned that you perform both to other cooperatives as well as to the corporate sector. So this
Yeah.
question addresses that really, because it asks that when you're on stage delivering performances, how do you engage with political
Your
issues?
man, oh, he's as slow as tortoise. I've been waiting for
Sorry,
him.
there's some
Okay.
background noise. Stella Aduamankwa, thank you. She's muted already. Did you hear the question? On stage, do you
Yeah.
stay away from political issues or do you discuss current affairs in your performances?
It is very difficult to separate art from the current issues. In fact, art is the mouth. In fact, when you look at the full name of our cooperative, is Chipukizi Voice of Drama. So we are the voice of people, and we call ourselves Voice of Drama. So we are even voice of the other voices in drama. So it is difficult to separate, and sometimes we even have conflict, by the way, with our clients. I remember the other day we were engaged by the county government of Nairobi to do a piece during there was a Women's Day ceremony. And the script that we had done, they requested to see it before we do perform. And then they said it was so feminine and it was like fighting the current leaders who are in the leadership. And I remember that the lady mentioned that this play will be staged in front of all these leaders. So you need to change and edit 1, 2, 3. And later, we didn't even perform that play. They brought issues, there is no budget, we carry forward to next year, and a lot of issues. But I remember they had mentioned that. But it's difficult. If you want to win audience, you must pick what is there, because art is the voice to what is happening. So it's difficult to separate, and sometimes you run into conflict or run into problem. But you need also to be wise, because sometimes the client is the person want to address. Maybe the client is the county government, it's the government itself. Like now, the Ministry of Education wants to engage us moving forward. So whatever we do, this is the government. So we need to strike a difference, a balance, not a difference, a balance, and know that this is what audience want, but this is our client. So how do we use wisdom, which sometimes is not just easy, but you
Yeah,
cannot separate.
that must be a difficult balance to strike. I think many of us are familiar with the story of the late and much loved Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who
Yeah,
the novelist, and it was when he engaged in community theatre in Gikuyu, in the
he could.
local language, that he got arrested and detained. So
Uh,
we'd urge you to, on the one hand, speak out, but on the other hand, to be cautious. But I'm sure that the current government is not as repressive as it was in those days. At least we hope not. So we
eh,
wish luck and a lot of skill, really, in navigating the political and cultural terrain of contemporary Kenya. Uh,
yeah,
but
thank you. So,
Yeah. So there's another question, which is about the law and the juridical situation. Is there a separate law for worker cooperatives, given that Kenya is a country which actually has a very large cooperative sector? Do worker cooperatives face particular laws?
not leading. We operate under the same law, the Cooperative Act. What happens? There are some bills or some proposals that are done, and they are presented to the National Assembly just to support, to ensure that we don't kill worker cooperatives. You know, worker cooperatives is the youngest when it comes to cooperative movement. SACCOs are the biggest, and sometimes they would intimidate us very easy. I remember one day we were called for a breakfast by the CS, Cabinet Secretary, and when we were seated there, they would not even recognize us. So every sector had a representative to say something and request this government through the CS what they want. But the worker cooperatives were not given an opportunity. Luckily, we had a clear program through global communities that were really supporting. So what we do, we propose some bills or some proposals that would help create an environment that will help worker cooperatives rise up. Like now we are proposing to have even an apex, a body of representation of worker cooperatives, even at national level. But the law is the same, only that we are proposing specific proposals that would help the cooperative growth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that response. I mean, clearly facing some challenges there too.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience? Others in attendance? Well, let me ask you if you have any further remarks you'd like to share with us, John, in
Okay,
following this discussion. I must say, take the opportunity to say, I'm very happy to hear, so as a feminist, I'm very happy to hear about the gender balancing and even your own comments that people like to presume that which is not true about the difference between men and women. Because I know Kenya to be quite a patriarchal society, like many of our countries. So I'm very happy to hear that women are so active in both the governance and in the performance. So that's very, very heartening. But perhaps, do you think that's a reflection of the next generation? That you actually are more advanced in terms of your gender culture and willingness to work together as men and women?
Yeah, where I sit, especially in our country, we have a lot of things that are happening now. Even when you check online, the Gen Z revolution, people trying to fight the current administration. And I think people are becoming more closer to each other and they support one another much. So you realize that gender is not so much, tribe is not so much, but what do you bring on the table? So the ideology is what matters. And I think that is the direction people are taking. And unless there are other things, because also we have so many organizations that are really fighting. In fact, let me just put this as a disclaimer. I am worried that the ladies will be more in front than the men. Like now, the workshop we went is for creative arts. They invited 90%, 90 were ladies. And even when you hear people doing, what do we call them, pitching ideas, they're just talking about the ladies project. Ladies for ladies by ladies, everything ladies. When I stand, I say, no, at least let's be fair even to men. And I'm worried. Another program is funding purely ladies, and it's for creative arts. And they get some ladies from Chipukizi, they benefit. But as for men, I ask, how about us? You get loans. So sometimes it's unfair, but we want to trust that it will continue to balance because, again, if we put away the men, they are all will miss out because each of them are equally important. So that is my worry. But we want to hope that men will stand strong and continue supporting the initiatives equally. So my comment from the experience that I have, and it is helping even a lot with the Alphaprime establishment. I think in the initial stage, leadership is key for any cooperative or just any organization, and we need to have a stable governance such that we are not discouraged by the current affairs. Because like now, due to our lack of enough experience or knowledge, like if these webinars were existing there and we could plug in, would have learned a lot. But we started on our own, just imagine from just fresh from the university, and we started. Sometimes I appreciate we tried, but we could have done more. Would have saved. Chipukizi would be even higher, would have gone to the next level. But because we started with a lot of errors, eating everything, no structures, nothing, I think we lost some years, like 4 or 5 years ago. Because what we are doing now, if we did like 4 years ago, we'd be somewhere different. So awareness are important, and I appreciate this webinar a lot. And also people getting to know that these webinars exist, and people would share their stories. Because until you hear from that other person, you may be doing it wrong. So I think that is important to note, and the people behind this webinar feel much appreciated, because this is something great that you're doing, and it shows people don't fall at the end of the day.
Thank you for that closing remark. And I think it's left to me to appreciate you once again. Say this has been a wonderful example, and it's been recorded so that those who weren't able to join us today, it is the middle of the day and the middle of the week, can always access the recording on our YouTube channel. And I'd encourage you to have all your people go to the YouTube channel and indeed to join us in future webinars. This is actually the 13th of such webinars we've had. So there's a whole series, and they're all extremely informative and educative regarding the development of cooperatives in Africa. So there's lots more to be enjoyed in our own growing archive of presentations and deliberations. And I particularly guide you to the research findings. There's actually a recording of the launch celebration of the Ghana research, which is on the Ghana cooperative sector. So not just you, but everyone present, I say do take a look at our website and find these resources, because you might find them as useful and helpful as today's webinar has been. And to our professional cooperator and passionate artist, John Njuguna Maina, thank you very warmly for this wonderful presentation and discussion. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our translators and our program staff who put this webinar together for us on a regular basis. Thank you, Abner. Thank you, Ebenezer. And that's it for today. We look forward to welcoming you to our next webinar, which will be next month in July. And with that, I'll bid you all thank you and farewell.
I have a question. If you want
Sure.
to join this movement as a cooperative, so what are the procedures, or they are well?
Oh, very easy. You go to our website, there's a membership link, and the subscription for a whole year is $20 equivalent. So you can find it on the website. And I encourage you to join and indeed bring others. Like you, we had a founding membership of over 50 people. And many people have joined since, but some have also fallen off. So it builds itself as it goes. So please do join us. And subscribe to Mapigo as well. Sorry, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. So just write Cooperation Africa, right?
Yeah, cooperationafrica.org, one word.
.org. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so we look forward to your membership and continuing collaboration with you as we move forward into the future. I should also, as a last word, mention that Cooperation Africa has two focal populations that we want to emphasize. One is women and the other is youth. So our agendas and our visions are very, very much aligned with yours. So, okay. So thank you again, everybody, and have a good rest of your afternoon and week. And we look forward to welcome you back to this special space for Cooperation Africa. Thank you and goodbye.